Thank you so much for attending another episode of MMR Scam. PhylacToss Tiny. And now that I've suckered you into the video by making up a new word, it's time to tell you about what I consider to be the single most broken strategy currently available in Dota 2 7.40c. Blast Slam 6 just ended, and while there were a couple of heroes that defined the tournament, including Largo, the one that I paid the most attention to was Phylactery on Tiny. This is because I'd actually been seeing it ever since the Phylactery reworks in 7.40, but I assumed that it was just a bunch of crackheads from third world countries, but it turns out even pro players think that it's worth picking. And pick it they did, because Tiny was one of the most contested picks in the entire tournament because of just how much insane damage this ability can deal. The crux of PhylacToss Tiny is exactly what it says on the tin, picking up a Phylactery on the hero Tiny and using Toss to deal an ungodly amount of magical damage to enemy heroes. The item takes an already amazing spell with a ton of niche applications and interesting use cases, and also makes it a finger of death. It keeps all of the other functionality of the hero, and when combined with the facet crash landing, makes it a farming tool as well. When combined with all of the various bullshit that Tiny Airlines was already capable of, there's a pretty convincing argument that Toss is one of the best spells in the entire game right now. My job today is to teach you the rough ideas of how to abuse the shit out of this in ranked mode so you can scam some MMR out of your opponents. And while there's plenty of tips and tricks still to come in this video, all you really need to know is that Tiny has access to a Laguna Blade on an 11-second cooldown that costs very little mana and has a range the size of the sun. If I were in charge of Dota, just typing that information alone into the redeem game code box on the Steam UI would be enough to give you 2 MMR all by itself. Before moving on, you should know that I've recently added replay reviews as an option for the highest tier on my Patreon. The weather is finally heating up, and so I've started my alternate savings account in order to take both myself and my cats to a water park. By checking out the Patreon link in the description below, you can help me make that a reality. And if you're already a patron, thank you very much for your continued support. Now in the current moment of the Dota meta, it's easy to look at pretty much any unit target spell, slap a Phylactery on it, and say, woo, this thing's broken. But Tiny stands above the rest, because the base spell that you're working with is already broken for several reasons, and you have more than just Phylactery to help improve it. One of those things is the facet crash landing, which massively increases the damage of any units that the Toss target lands next to. That's a 20% bonus on top of Toss's already substantial 360, but it doesn't end there. At max level, and trust me, you'll get there fast, it's also a 35% movement slow that lasts 2.5 seconds and a 45 attack speed slow for some reason. All of this is just icing on top of the blunt force trauma cake, but the radius of the effect is 400. That means that you can also use Toss as a farming tool, taking out an entire creep wave with a single press of the W key. Still, if you want to maximize the damage from Toss, it's important to note that the Phylactery will only trigger on the person that you are tossing to. This means that you can proc the crash landing facet and the Phylactery by tossing a hero on top of themselves, but you can also get all of those benefits by hitting them with a random jungle or lane creep. And that 400 radius means that it is very easy to hit not only your main target, but also the Centaur Warrunner that they rode in on. And remember that all of this is attached to one of the best relocation tools in the entire game, one that can win you the match in the blink of an eye. Or lose it, for that matter. I wrote a little bit about the relocation creep that has taken place in Dota over the last few years. Feel free to read it if you like. Now if all of this sounds appealing to you, or you want to make the enemy half of the map look like a Yemeni wedding circa 2010, here is how to play PhylacToss Tiny. The good news is that if you're already a Tiny player, a good chunk of the bullshit that you already know about this hero is going to apply perfectly to the Phylactery version of him. Now the first thing you'll have to figure out is what position you're going to play, but one of the best parts of PhylacToss Tiny is that you can get away with it in pretty much any position except for maybe carry. Of course, the speed at which you will acquire your Phylactery is going to vary wildly depending on which lane you're going to and if you're going to be farming or not, but no matter when you get it, it will still be strong. If you're going to the mid lane, my best piece of advice is to bow your head and pray that you get a decent matchup, but if you're going to a side lane, the first thing you should do is identify what shenanigans you're going to be able to get away with. If you're going as a position 4, you have some very premium options, such as Magnus or Centaur Warrunner that you can combo with for hopefully easy kills. But if you're playing as position 5, you may be better off going for tower tosses. Get close to an enemy hero within range of your carry who's farming comfortably under the tier 1 and hit the W button to send them to paradise. No matter which position you go to, the combination of Avalanche and Toss along with your insane right-click damage should be enough to help you at least harass. And after Wand and Boots with an optional upgrade path into Arcanes, it's time to go Phylactery. Now usually, once a Tiny picks up their first item, they want to immediately buddy up with some playmakers on their team and skulk around the map under smoke of deceit in order to get some pickoffs. And you are more than welcome to adopt this playstyle and bomb around the map using the bonus damage from Phylactery in order to secure the kill. But one of the unique traits about playing Phylactery Tiny is that you have the ability to casually harass the enemy and make them terrified to ever show on the map. If you see an enemy hero farming by their lonesome in a dead lane, you can waddle over, hit the W button, and laugh like a moron as you see half of their HP bar disappear into nothing. And now that you've established your threat, they have to make the difficult decision between walking away to do nothing or coming back out to farm the second wave and potentially getting Nene to buy a rock who somehow has his dick out. Alternate between solo harass in order to police your own creep waves and bombing around with your team, and eventually the enemy will be scared of you, even if you only still have that Phylactery at the 25-minute mark. Now the toss combos aren't just for the lane, and once the later stages of the match rolls around, you'll need to understand the best way to use it. If you have a fat AoE ultimate on your team, like that of a Tidehunter or a Shadow Fiend, you can toss them into the middle of the fight in order to make the most of it. Meanwhile, if the enemy team has a squishy but very high priority backliner like an Oracle or a Drow Ranger, you can give up your body for Jerusalem by blinking into them and tossing them back into your team. Even in those sacrificial cases, the Phylactery damage will help secure their death, and your team is guaranteed to start on a good note as the enemy team wastes all of their spells on you. Now of course, every hero in the current patch who goes a Phylactery will eventually be forced to make the decision of whether to upgrade it or not. In my opinion, if you're up against a team that's weak to breaks, it can be kinda good. In conclusion, Tiny is an oxymoronic hero, and you should absolutely play him. If there's one thing I've learned from Blender, it's that nothing fun ever happens in the third dimension. Also, the original line for this slide was a 3D PD joke. Peace on planet Earth.